Hey everyone, first screencast in a while. I'm going to look at pages 513 to 518 as promised. I have a textbook right in front of me. I just kind of quickly put together a very, very brief PowerPoint just to kind of outline some of the major points that are quizzable tomorrow and ones we'll look at directly in class. Alright? So we start off with Anna J. Cooper, her primary source. Her experiences as a slave and then working on this really an incredible story. Guys, really take a look at this. I mean, this is a woman who's gone literally from slavery to getting her doctorate and to teaching in the Sorbonne in Paris, France. And just an incredible story, right, is Cooper's. And I'm thinking of Black History Month tomorrow. Not tomorrow, I'm sorry, in a couple of days. We're on the threshold of Black History Month. Thinking about what she's writing here as highlights of what it's like to be a black woman in the postbellum South, and how where she sees the problems is something you want to really look at. Who's to blame? In other words, where is she pointing fingers at is interesting. All right, that's something I want you to look at. Listen in general, what is it like? What are the difficulties? And then what are the benefits now? I mean, have things changed for the better? We've seen so many problems with Reconstruction and the post-Reconstruction era, so post-1877. What is she really telling us here? And you have the synopsis sort of in the 2 or 3 paragraphs right on page 514 after you read that. So please take a look at that. That is subject for quiz tomorrow. Next, what's called the New South, right? And is also, they actually bring up the Solid South, which is something we've addressed in class already. But we'll continue to talk about. And what I just put down is, this question in my mind was, what about the New South is actually new? What is something here that's actually a new thing? Okay? And look into that. What is actually new? Okay? A lot of it's industry, look at in a second. All right? But what is actually new? So what is meant by a second Civil War in the paragraph just before an industrial and urban South on page 516? If you go to page 516, it's just it's the 3rd paragraph down, actually, but I put the one just above that subtext, which is an industrial and urban South. Just above that, they make mention of what's called the Second Civil War. I'm curious your thoughts is what that actually means. Okay. And then, what were the features of a new industrial South? So these are, I literally took, and some of them were just direct quotes from the textbook. Boasting in the growing iron and steel industry is exactly from the textbook. Textile mills that rival New England. And what I mean by that, guys, too, is the pace. The pace at which they're moving is faster than that in New England. Okay, but ultimately, they're not. You cannot compare them. The North is booming, with just an incredible amount of steam and energy, also. So they're not really rivaling the North, but the pace at which they're moving, because they really come from nothing in the South to so much so quickly after the Civil War, that it rivals the North. But ultimately, right, they really don't. So let's go back to this for just a second, because we're moving a little fast here. Right, so boasting a growing iron and steel industry, textile mills that rival New England. How important was Birmingham? They go a lot into Birmingham, right, and what that actually, what Birmingham means in that it actually is challenging Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh, I mean, today you think of the football team, Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is the steel capital of this country, probably the world. Actually, probably placed in China that have incredible or impressive steel making too. But you think of Pittsburgh, you think of steel. You think of steel, you think of Pittsburgh. So the fact that Birmingham is even mentioned in the conversation about steel, all right, and the fact that it's even talked about as challenging steel making is huge. Goes into a lot of Coca-Cola. We've all had a Coke or a Diet Coke at some point, or all the different varieties of Coke at some point. That is a southern commodity. That is a southern product, and it's a huge southern product, right? Very significant. And there's a great story about that. Okay. But before but lastly, like influential, I'm thinking of the rapid pace again. I just mentioned before about how they actually are rapidly moving, but not really rival. The rivalry's really not there. It's just a matter of speed, which is easy to do because before you don't really have anything in the South. So railroads, in particularly, if you just go to pages 518 and 519, we've stopped at 518. But just look at the difference in the amount of track that's laid in 518 as compared to 519. When you put it that way, it's an incredible amount. So, all right, we'll stop there, guys. The hint, as I promised, right, will be the Civil War comment right here. I want to have a good answer for that, and not just a vague thing. In other words, I don't want you just to kind of throw at me, well, the Southerners feel they won some sort of vague argument. It's really specific to that paragraph, and they give you plenty if you look at the paragraph before. That's it. So really do a good job on it. I will see you guys tomorrow.